216 paints in this box were meticulously organized by type, color, and in ascending brightness according to a triad system. Fuck. The Army Painter is a brand name you've probably heard of, as their paints and hobby supplies are widely available in most local game stores. But their original war paints range was, well, bad. Really low pigmentation and strong separation between their binder and their pigments made the painting experience for all miniature painters pretty terrible. But they have done something that's quite commendable. They've gone back to the drawing board to completely overhaul the paint range from the ground up. The new Fanatic range claims to have 300 to 700% more pigment in each paint, a premium resin base for smooth, consistent applications, as well as other improvements. And after painting with the new Fanatic paints for a while now, I've got some thoughts. So let's do a bit of a practical review by putting them through their paces using a wide variety of mini painting techniques on 2 models. And these techniques I use day in and day out, so we're going to see how they really stack up. And while Army Painter was kind enough to send me over the full range of the Fanatic paints, I'm not affiliated with them in any way, nor is this video sponsored by them. The first model that we're going to test today is a Squig. Why a Squig? Good question. Well, I have a box of unbuilt Squigs in my closet, and I've always wanted to paint a Squig. Never have, so today seems like the day. It also gives me the opportunity to test some tones that are typically the weakest in paint ranges, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The first thing I notice when dropping these paints onto a wet palette is how thick and firm they are. They hold their shape and they suspend the pigments really well right on the palette. What this makes me immediately want to try out is wet blending with them, because thicker paint tends to have a longer open time to blend on a mini. And sure enough, these do that really well, even bright colors like the flesh tones. Now, depending on your painting style, you may or may not value a thicker paint with a longer working time, especially if that paint is gloopy and slides around the models, creating streaks. But these paints don't really seem to have any of those downsides at all. In fact, they remind me an awful lot of my favorite paint to wet blend with, which is P3. The other thing I noticed while doing this wet blending is how cleanly these paints cover a surface in just one coat. That increased pigment load is definitely visible on this model. That said, I'm not claiming you should use this paint or any other miniature paint directly out of the bottle without thinning it first before you start using your base coats or your layering techniques. It's a really good way to end up obscuring some of the cool details on your model. Once I have the main tones for my Squig blended in quickly, I move on to refining the volumes with basic layering. I thin the paint down with an equal amount of water and apply it like I would any miniature paint. I'm purposely going for a lighter pale color Squig here in order to test out some of the lighter colors of the range. Low quality paints with large amounts of white pigment in them tend to not hold up well to thinning. Those lower quality paints will often lead to a scratchy or uneven layer of paint after you've thinned them down a little bit, and that's often because the pigment size has not been ground fine enough, or the suspension liquid that's in there is not high enough quality to really keep it evenly distributed throughout the paint. The old war paints range was notoriously bad for their yellows, creams, and lighter skin tones, and I thought for sure this is where I'd get to pin the Army Painter to the wall with their fairly bold marketing claim that they've created the perfect miniature paint. And no, they haven't created the perfect miniature paint here, because the perfect miniature paint doesn't exist. There's way too much personal preference in working with a paint that fits with the style of painting you enjoy doing. But every light color that I've tested in this range does hold up incredibly well to thinning, making the painting process easier for you. So in that regard, they've certainly achieved something. Speaking of thinning down, I next wanted to test if these paints hold up even when thinned down to the max. By mixing something that looks more like water with a tint of red food coloring in it, I washed the model and glazed selected areas to smooth out my rougher blends. What I'm looking for here is, once this wash or glaze dries, is there any splotchiness or irregularity to that tint that I've put over the entire model? This will happen when a lesser quality binder breaks down and the pigments can't be uniformly spread across the new heavily watered down pool. And again, these paints are working exactly like I'd hoped that they would. I'm not fighting the paints here. There's no irregularities or splotchiness. But I will give a general tip about glazing regardless of what paint range you use, and that's to avoid glazing in colors that are really bright and light and high in white pigments. The general rule of thumb is the richer or darker a color is, the easier it is to glaze with. A perfect paint would allow you to glaze in highlights with pure white in one simple coat to create that smooth transition. But that would require a level of alchemical wizardry that the human race does not have access to yet. Now, as I work my way around the squig, trying out different colors with my go-to techniques of layering and glazing, I want to talk a bit about the bottles. Now, the makeup of a paint bottle label may seem like a trivial thing, but as my paint collection has grown and I've tried to keep everything organized and in its place, I've come to really appreciate the attention to detail when it comes to designing the perfect label for a paint bottle. Now, the bottles for the Fanatic range, much like every other miniature painting brand out there, have their standard silly name front and center because we're nerds and we like that kind of a thing. But on the side of each bottle, there's also a practical name of the paint. And I guess this practical name is some universal naming convention, and it's titled the NSCC-NBS System of Color Designation, in case you wanted to know. And for me, this is actually super helpful. It can sometimes be hard to tell just by looking at the name of the color or the color in the bottle what necrotic flesh really is. But on the side of the bottle, it says that necrotic flesh is a pale olive. Great. Now that I know the color's practical name, I can think of other good uses for it, like this necrotic flesh could be a great cool shadow for a cream cloth, or a highlight for army fatigues. The Fanatic range also comes in a triad system, meaning that there are 3 colors, a dark, a middle, and a bright, for each color in the range, which is really helpful for new painters. And while I honestly could not care less about color triads, it's mildly sad how excited I am about what's also printed on the bottle. This stuff, right here. Now the triads actually come in pairs, so a full range, the olive greens for example, is actually a total of 6 colors. And on each bottle, there are these 6 little steps showing where this color falls on that set of 6. Not only can I glance at a bottle and know where this color stands in the entire range of olive greens, but I also get to know how many other darker and lighter options I have for olive greens. And it also makes it so much easier to organize my paints on the racks. I can't tell you how often I'm putting away my paints and I stare at this paint and I can't decide if it should go in the grays or the browns, because it's kind of a gray brown. And how light is this gray brown next to the other gray brown that's also on my rack? It just wastes so much damn time when I'm picking out paints and putting them back. So just knowing that I can put back all 6 of the colors in the right order on my shelf and where to find them when I need them is a small thing, but it's super helpful. So good on you, Army Painter. Today's video is brought to us by our friends over at Into the AM. You've probably noticed me wearing my Into the AM shirts on videos, but did you know that I also wear them while I'm out grocery shopping, walking the dog, and attending funerals? Because there's really never an occasion too casual or too formal for a comfy, stylish shirt. And whether you've picked up some clothes from them before or you've yet to pull the trigger, now's the best time to place an order at Into the AM. The entire store is currently 25% off, and there's never been a better time to get some quality apparel at an amazing price. And with new designs regularly being released, there's bound to be something that fits your style. On top of that, there's a special offer for the month of February. You'll receive a free gift for any order that's $150 or more. And if all that wasn't enough, you can use code NINJON at checkout to get an extra 10% off. Yep, it stacks with the 25% off sale. So check out the link down in the video description, use that NINJON coupon code, and show everyone at the next family picnic or wedding what style really looks like. As I finished up the squig, I did have a few paints that I struggled with just a bit, particularly the pale blues and turquoise. Nothing major, and overall the paints acted very consistently. That word consistency is the main reason why AK 3rd generation paints are some of my absolute favorites. They're so consistent. They act the same way every time, no matter what color I choose from the entire range. Once I start getting that feel for how the Fanatic range acts, it's had that similar level of consistency throughout the entire range, which is great for all painters, whether it's new painters or experienced ones. Now, I did have some frustration with the new recipe of washes as I tried them across this model's base, but I'm going to give them a second go on our next model before I give my final verdict. And that next model is A Space Marine. Shut up. They're actually good for testing out some things that we couldn't test on the Squig. The first thing I'm going to do with the Space Marine is check out how these Fanatic paints run through an airbrush. Of course, I'm going to go to my tried and true Tamiya X20A to thin them and just start spraying. And I gotta say, these paints run through the airbrush like a dream. There was no clogging, there was no spitting, and the coverage when I thinned them down appropriately was still strong enough that I had an awesome coverage in just one coat. Now, I'm no airbrush wizard, but I did try another step with the airbrush, and that's to thin down the paint even more, this time with a dark purple. And that'll give us more of a depth of color from below in the shadows. This tinting worked equally as smoothly, and with just these two steps, I feel like I could crank out the initial steps of an entire army incredibly fast without much effort. With the Squig, I was focusing on a lot of the warmer colors as well as some of the troubling colors in the brighter and lighter colors in the range. So with the Space Marine, I decided to focus on a lot of the cold colors, as well as seeing how these colors work when I thin them down and I try to do real precision work. He may look like a delicious blueberry right now, but I will be going for more of a grimdark look for this guy. I start by mixing in a bit of a brighter blue from the same color triad as our base color and build up some rougher scratches all over the armor, as well as some basic edge highlighting. What I'm really testing in the paint when I do this is how well this paint can thin down to where it just very smoothly and easily leaves the sharp tip of my brush without losing all its potency and opacity. Now, you may think that any paint should be able to do this, and you're not exactly wrong. Any paint can do this, but I've found that certain paints lose their punch and that pigment density when I add in enough water to get this super smooth flow off the tip of my brush. And again, certain colors will always do this better than others, but a true blue should really shine in this test. And the Army Painter blues, they certainly do. Now, before we lean fully into our grimdark aesthetic, we need to base coat a couple of other things on this model, and that brings us to the metallics. Now, in general, metallic miniature paints tend to be a bit thicker than I'd like and almost have a sticky quality to them. And then when I thin them down so I have some control over them, they really tend to have poor coverage. And unfortunately, these paints fall into that same trap. They're not great by any stretch of the imagination. They're perfectly serviceable and usable, but they certainly could be better. You know, strangely enough, the speed paint metallics that Army Painter themselves make are way better than these metallics. Those paints are already thinned while they still pack a nice, potent, pigmented punch. Now, if I was the Army Painter, I'd just make their speed paint metallics their brand standard and include those in this box. Again, the ones that come in here are just fine, and I wouldn't hate to have to use them, but they make metallics, their own brand of metallics, and they're better than these metallics. As a starting point for our city rubble base here, I decided to try out their dark rust technical paint from the set. This stuff seems to dry a bit more matte, and there's even a small bit of very fine grit in it. Now, I don't usually mess around with technical paints that are included in various paint ranges, mostly because standard acrylic paints can often do that job just fine, and I don't have to buy extra paints. But honestly, this rust was really impressive. In fact, I'm going to test it out more as we make this guy more grimdark and try out some other stuff there too. Onto the washes. Now, I've always been a fan of the old Army Painter washes, so seeing that they have a lot more colors in this new set has me pretty pumped. So in order to build up some depth of grime and weathering, we're going to try out a number of different washes in different capacities across this model. But what I saw when I was washing the base of the Squig is showing true here again with different colors. And that is, these washes are not tinting the surface of the model nearly as much as the old wash recipe did. They seem to act more like the new recipe of Games Workshop washes, where they just used their contrast paint medium and added a less vibrant pigment. Kind of frustrating. Yes, you can still achieve that same old look. It's just going to cost you 2 coats of wash instead of 1. But with all the variety of colors of washes, there are some that have some really awesome tones, and I'm immediately loving this rust wash. After futzing around with doing some select washes to adding some different colors in different spots, I decided to go back to the technical rust effects again. This time, I thinned them down to create some crusty buildup where the panels meet. But because I thinned thinned them down and tried to pull them into the crevices, sometimes that bit of grit in the paint was sometimes left behind to create some odd looking dots and dust across the surface that didn't quite look right. Now to deal with this, I would just take a clean brush and wipe away that grit before it fully dried if there was any areas that I didn't want it. It made it pretty easy to deal with, and you could kind of build up the grit more places where you'd want. Now that we've created a respectable level of grunge, I'm going to go back in and boost my highlights and accentuate the scratches to really sell this grimdark effect. While I was finishing this guy up, I got to thinking about this paint range as a whole, and which parts of the set I'm most looking forward to using, and what I think is missing. To be honest, the biggest color miss for me in this whole set is it doesn't have a full set of saturated warm browns. That warm brown range could have started off with a deep, dark warm brown like Rhinox Hide from Games Workshop, which is one of my favorite paints on a variety of surfaces, and for good reason. They could then move up their step system with a wide range of chocolate browns up to rust colors to complete the 2-triad set. One of the reasons I had to go to their rust effects line for all the weathering in this paint job was because the standard range didn't include anything there. But outside of that specific set of misses, this range doesn't really have any glaring holes, at least to me. The things that excite me most about the range are the 3 separate skin tone sets, which I love. There are so many colors in those 3 sets that can be really versatile for things outside of skin tones, as well as creating a wide range of interesting skin tones as well. I also really love the really bright, light colors. These are great for mixing in as highlights for your paint jobs to not just use white. These things are really, really good to have in a paint set, so I'm glad that they've included a wide variety of them. There's no sunny skin tone equivalent, which as many of you know is one of my favorite colors to paint with, but there's a number of other options that I've never tried before on miniatures, and who knows, one of those might become one of my new favorites. And with our Space Marine finished up, we are now officially done with our super scientific, practical breakdown and testing of the new Army Painter's Fanatic range. Now before I give my final thoughts on this paint range, I'm going to be perfectly clear. I've been painting with this range pretty much exclusively for about a week and a half now, in addition to the 2 models we painted on today's video. But I have not tried every single color in this 216 color set. And while there are a handful of colors that I have tried that don't quite hold up to the standard of the rest of the paints in the set, by and large, I'm incredibly impressed with this Fanatics set of paint. They are very heavy with pigment, and they have a very stable binder right out of the bottle. They thin down super easily, whether you want layer consistency, whether you want glaze consistency, somewhere in between. But most importantly, the paints as a whole across the whole range are super consistent. Years ago, I said that I would not recommend the Army Painter War Paints range to a new painter. They were just so frustrating to use, and I feel that any hobby, especially for a new miniature painter, should be cleared of as many hurdles as possible. Well, it's of my opinion that Army Painter has themselves cleared away most of those hurdles, and I can say that I will be integrating much of these paints into my own regular painting rotation. Yes, even at the competitive level. Now, as much as I'm not looking forward to having to pick all these paints up and reorganize them according to color, I am thankful that you all are able to join me today and for all of your support. Honestly, because you subscribe, because you join me on the Ninja on Patreon, because you use the links I have down below to buy your hobby goodies at a discount, I'm able to keep making these videos, and doing that really means so much to me, so thanks for your support. Now, I'll be back before you know it with another new video. And no matter what paint range you use, the most important thing is that you find time in your day to slay the gray. That was barf.